Hey everybody, welcome to the Live Magic Q&A with me, your host, Madam Pamita, and my very special guest, Theresa Reed. If you are new and you've never seen this before, you're seeing this on YouTube or who knows where you're a space alien and it's on a gold record sent out on Voyager 5.5. I don't know. If you're finding this in some weird way, I'm Madam Pamita, and I have a shop called Parlor of Wonders, and you can find me online at parlorofwonders.com. I am a tarot reader. I'm a spiritualist. I'm a spellcaster. I teach about magic and the law of attraction. I have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel called YouTube/Madam Pamita. I've got an Instagram. I got all that jazz. So you can find me in all those places, but the best place to find me is parlorofwonders.com. What else do I need to say? Oh, if you want to get into our clubhouse and join us here live, we do this live every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we record this as a live free Zoom meeting every week where we answer your questions about magic. We answer your questions about tarot and divination. We answer your questions about spiritualism. We answer your questions about anything magical, anything mystical, anything spiritual. So if you want to join us here in the clubhouse, you can do so. All you have to do is go to spellsquad.com and sign up to be in the Spell Squad, which doesn't cost anything, just being on my newsletter email list, basically. But with that, you will get a copy of my 33-page ebook, 7 Secrets to Supercharge Your spell work. And you'll also get the code to come into the room on our Sunday meeting every week. So this would be a really great thing for you to do, really fun. You join us here in the clubhouse. We have great people in here. Not only do we answer your questions, but the other people in the room can also answer your questions over chat, and we can talk about things off in the chat or here with me and my guests. So my guest this week, I'm very, very excited. I've been super excited about it all week because this is Theresa Reed, the tarot lady. She is a world-renowned tarot expert. She's been reading tarot for as long as I have, 30 years. She picked up her first deck at age 15, started doing readings and for her sister about cute boys, and has been tarot obsessed ever since. I knew about her. I only met you like a year ago, maybe? Was it about a year ago?
Yeah, it was a year ago at Pleasant Gaiman had a gathering at the minibar, and you came walking in. I'm like, oh my God, it's Madam Pamita.
So we knew about each other before we met each other. I just always loved Theresa, totally had such great high esteem and respect for her as a tarot scholar, as somebody who made tarot fun, accessible. She's real, like, no, she's one of those readers that's like no bones, like she'll tell it like it is. She's just amazing. And she's the author of many books, but the one that I hold near and dear to my heart is this one right here that just came out this year, right? It just came out this year. Tarot for Troubled Times, that she co-authored with Shaheen Miro, sorry. I can't read backwards. That proves it right there. And this is such a gorgeous book. I love it because it is a book after my own heart, which is like how we can use tarot for more than just tarot reading. So this book, she's got a tarot coloring book, and she's got another book, an astrology book that I didn't even know existed, and she just showed me. So without further ado, let's introduce Theresa Reed. Round of applause. Yay.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here, Madam Pamita. I am so delighted to talk with you and everybody here tonight. So thank you.
You're just like a delight. And I always love it when we get together. You come out to LA and I get to see you. I'm going to be coming, but you're in Wisconsin, right? You're out in snowy Wisconsin. I was going to say I'm going to Minnesota, but that's
close.
Close-ish, but I don't.
What are you doing in Minnesota?
I'm going to Paganacon. I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh my gosh. It's the big pagan festival, and I'm going to be going out there, and I'm going to be visiting with Llewellyn Books people and all of that. So I'm going to be out there, and I'll be in that part of the world in March. But anyway, I want to hear more about what you've been up to, because I haven't seen you in a couple months. What's going on in your world?
Well, I've got a lot going on. I just finished another book that's coming out next September. I also wrote the book for Shaheen's next deck, which is coming out next fall as well. I am teaching in Italy next year and getting ready for that. And I'm also teaching, I'm going to be the main stage speaker at the Reader Studio. So there's all this crazy stuff going on right now. Yeah, so it's nuts.
I am going to be at the Reader Studio.
No way.
But I'm just there as a participant, going to for fun.
You're
so
going
I'm
to
going
have
to
a blast.
see you. I'm excited.
Yes.
That's
I'm
amazing.
so excited.
Tell me what are the book titles? Do you have the book and the deck and all that? Do you have titles? Are you allowed to talk about it?
Right now, everything's under wraps, so I can't say anything more.
Oh, top secret. We'll just have to.
Yep.
We'll just have to do a search for your name and see what pops up on Amazon and those places and look for you there. That's exciting. Finishing a book is a big deal. I want to talk a little bit about this book, this amazing book. I'll tell you why this is a book after my own heart, because this book is about ways that you can use the tarot for things other than readings. You can use it for, use affirmations. I love this. It like has actions. When you pull a card, you can look up the card and see not only like an affirmation, a positive aspect of the card, a more challenging aspect of the card, but also like an action that you can do when you pull that card. And I think that is so bloody genius. How did you come up with that?
Well, actually, what ended up happening is Shaheen and I met when I was doing an appearance in Ohio. And we had met each other online before, but there was something, you know how it is. We meet each other online and then you meet in person. It's like, oh my God, you're even cooler in person.
Yeah.
And we just hit it off and we were like, oh my God, we have to work together. We need to do something. And after the last election, we both noticed that a lot of the people that we were, oh, it sounds like we have a weird.
I got it. I took care of it. Don't unmute your things, guys. Leave your things on mute. Please, Elaine. Leave your stuff on mute. So, oops, I don't know if now, shoot. Theresa's now on mute. Unmute Theresa. There we go. Let me handle the muting and unmuting. That would be
okay. I am unmuted.
You're good.
So what we noticed is after the last election, first of all, every time there's an election, I've got whatever losing side comes in, they're always coming into the office thinking their life is about to turn to crap. And sometimes, it does, but a lot of times I really end up assuring people that your life is going to go on. But this last election seemed to really upset people a lot more. And so we noticed that there was a lot of people who were in despair, who were really feeling pessimistic about their future. And also at the same time, what's been happening here in Milwaukee and in a lot of areas is the opioid crisis has been really creating a lot of havoc here. So, I think a lot of people assume that when they come to a tarot reader, it's always talking about, am I going to get paid or laid, right? But a lot of the times what I found I was dealing with was, I deal with a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of grief, a lot of people who are in pain, a lot of people who are losing loved ones through addiction, or who are, again, really fearful about what's going on in the world. And they really want to know, how can I change my life? How can I change the world? So Shaheen and I created a class called Tarot for Troubled Times to, really address doing shadow work and helping people deal with really rough things that are going on in their lives. And we also included a part about activism, because if you want to heal yourself and you want to heal the world, you need tools to be able to do that. And so what ended up happening then is Wiser approached us and asked us if we could turn it into a book. And so that's how the book came about. It actually started out as a class that we did. And oh my God, we love the class so much. And, the book, it's very different than a traditional tarot book. It's got information about reading tarot. It's got some spreads for really heavy stuff. But we also talk a lot about magic and ritual and healing work and affirmations and being an activist out in the world. So it's more than just a tarot book. It's really a manual for healing and transformation and activism.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. And I love that I love that story of how the book came to be. That's amazing. But I love the whole taking the cards and incorporating the message or the energy, really, because I think of those cards having vibratory energy, and it's something that sometimes is kind of indescribable, but turning it into actions and turning it into ways of consciousness, awakened consciousness, which is what the tarot is supposed to be about anyway, is awakening your consciousness. So
Tarot is all about consciousness. I think people have a misconception. They think that you come to a reader, it's just going to tell you, here's the future, it's all laid out, you're going to live happily ever after. That's not how it works. Tarot is not a passive act. Tarot is going to show you your potential and your possibilities, but you have to show up and you have to do your part. Life doesn't just happen to you. Life is a series of choices. And what tarot can show is, yes, it can show what may be coming, but if you don't like the way the future looks, well, you still have a role. You have agency. You can make changes. I really don't like doing readings for people who assume that life is just happening to them. Those are the hardest people to read for because they're not awake at the wheel. They're asleep at the wheel, hoping that somehow their future is just going to, again, show up. And you're the one who's creating your future. It's your actions, your thoughts, the way you're conducting yourself. You know what? That's going to determine what your future is ultimately.
I always say it's like a Waze or Google Maps.
Yes.
You can look and see what is ahead. Like if you know, like here in LA, we live for Waze. Like you do not, nobody doesn't have Waze, I don't think, except for my boyfriend. He has a Thomas Brothers guide, which if you're an LA person, you know what that means. Oh my gosh. He's like, but anyway, we have this live information as we use Waze that's saying to you, hey, freeway's clogged. You're going to get there faster if you go on the surface streets. But we have the free will to say, nope, I'm going to stay on the freeway, even if we're going to get there faster. Or like I used to do when Google Maps was new, I used to outsmart it because I go, I know this city. I know a faster way. And I used to be able to outsmart it and get there faster than it predicted. But then started getting better and better. And now I can't beat it anymore. But I always think of that thing of like, people believe that there is a destiny. And I say there may be strong streams of energy going toward a certain outcome that may appear to be almost like a destiny, but the idea of destiny precludes us having any free will. And I do 100% believe, as I'm sure you do, that we have free will at any moment. So at any moment, you know, we could do all kinds of things. You
Yes.
could get up and dance a hoochie coochie dance on the table right now. It's not a strong destiny that you're going to do that. Although, who knows with you, girl? I know you. but we, you know, we don't have this destiny like that. We're like little robots that are fulfilling this plan. We're actually having agency at every choice, as you say, and we can choose if we see those cards. That's why the cards that are bad are not bad, because they're telling you, okay, you have a stream that's moving in this direction.
Yep. Your
car is driving off the cliff. You now have a choice now to take a different direction, to go in a different direction. And that's, I'm sure, the same. It sounds like that's the same way.
Yeah, it's totally what it's all about. You know, we all have intuition too. Every single one of us does. And the difference between like someone like me and a lot of people is that I really pay attention to it. And I know that if I'm feeling some type of way about something or someone, I'm not going to ignore it. It's the same with the cards. If I see like something really negative in my cards, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh my God, I'm doomed. Now I'm going to be like, okay, let me see how to work around this or with this. It's the same with astrology. I've been practicing astrology before tarot. And I look at the moon every single day. And that dictates a lot on what I'm going to do that day. So it's all about working with energy and really paying attention and making smart choices. You know, one of the examples that I love to give, and it's a very dramatic example, is many years ago when I was a bright young thing living in New York, there was a guy who was hitting on me, and I have a type. I mean, I have lots of types, but I have a very specific type. I love very skinny men with very long hair, and they have to be funny and witty. And and I prefer blondes. But anyhow, this particular guy was hitting on me. He was funny. He was smart, beautiful teeth, beautiful eyes, gorgeous long blonde hair, but something was off. And I pay attention to it. I'm like, you know what? You and I are just going to be friends. So we became very good friends, and we would see each other from time to time and laugh. We always had fun. And then, one day he was talking to me about how upset he was with his recent girlfriend because she was going to kick him out. And I'm like, oh, dude, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Well, a week later, it was front page news. He chopped her up into little bits. Yeah, it was a very famous case. But I often think back. I know it's a dramatic example, but I often think back on how I felt the vibe, and I knew there was something off here. This is someone I can be friends with, but it's somebody I shouldn't date. and I didn't ignore it. Now, what would have happened if I didn't? I often think about other times in my life where I've had feelings, or I've had, a reading that's shown a certain thing, and I don't ignore it. That's the big difference. I don't ignore it.
Yeah, yeah. And the case is, most people, they ignore at their peril. They ignore it and then they go, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that.
Especially when it comes to romance,
Yeah.
because they're like, here's an example. The relationship's no good. This person's a dud. But what do? You still go back to it time and time again. They're giving you all the signals that they don't want to be with you. I see people wasting so much time on relationships. And that's the one area where I just want to tell people, listen, if it is so damn hard to make this work, maybe you need to look for a different partner. It should not be this traumatic, dramatic, awful thing. And if someone's not texting you or calling you back, you don't have to be a psychic to know that. Just read that book. He's not that into you. It really,
Yeah.
That's an area where we can make better choices. And so many people will hang on to an ex or somebody that's just not treating them right. And I don't know why.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing, that desire to fix a relationship. And I always say, honey, go to Build a Bear workshop. Don't go to Build a Man workshop. You
can only fix yourself. You cannot fix another person.
I know. Well, we got some amazing questions. People have been writing tons of questions. So I want to get to these. First question, we got some hellos. Omi says hello, and Angela says hello, and Jazz says hi. And we've got Rita asking a question. Is clove on charcoal good for removing negativity and attracting luck? I know you do a little magic. Have you ever worked with clove as an herb, or have you ever done anything?
Well, I don't work with clove because I have traumatic responses to clove based on lots of awful dental work back when I was a child. So clove is not my thing. So I know clove can be for attracting money is what I've heard, but I won't work with clove. I can't stand it. What about you?
That's so funny. You know what? I'm the same way about camphor.
Yes.
Camphor for me smells like camphophenique, which back in the 60s when I was a little kid, you would put on a wound. And I smell camphor, and I know it's a really good cleanser, but it's not a smell that I like. My kids who have no association, they're young men, 21 and 19, they love the smell of camphor because they don't have that association with skin knees like I do. So I get
and I have the same thing with camphor, the same thing. And it's funny because my children have really beautiful, perfect teeth like their father.
Yeah.
I married him because he had good teeth, and so my children have these really beautiful, wonderful, perfect teeth. I had the dentist from hell and a very expensive mouth with lots of work. So clove is very triggering for me. So it's just not one of those things where it's going to work for me. But I've heard that it is good for luck. It's just, I've never worked with it.
Yeah, clove is actually, I don't have a negative association with it. And clove is really, really good for friendships. It can be like a sweetening. It's considered a sweet hot herb, and so the sweet hot herbs like ginger, cinnamon, clove are good for exciting, positive things. So we can use it for luck. We can use it for friendships. We can use it possibly for love, but it tends to skew more to the family friend kind of energy. So you can use it on that, and you can use it in that way, and you can most certainly burn it on charcoal. There's definitely that element for that. I want to go to the next question. Omi has a really great question about crystals. So Omi says, do you ever use any crystals, oils, or other aids during a tarot reading? What do you use? Do you use
Oh my God, you are asking the right question. I use so many props. I like to say that I'm into tarot and spiritual things because of the accessories. I love spiritual accessories. Nothing gets me hotter than crystals and oils. So here I use a variety of things. So bear with me. This is going to be a list, and I'm going to tell you where to get the stuff too. So first of all, of course, I love crystals. I have a giant amethyst on my reading table because amethyst, I think, really is the stone for spiritual people. I think it's really great for psychic work. It really seems to absorb energy and also transmit this really beautiful spiritual vibe. I also find that it neutralizes people's energy, because sometimes, when people come to a tarot reading, they're really upset. There's something about that crystal, that big giant amethyst, that really, really works well for keeping the energy centered and grounded. My whole office is filled with crystals. The other thing that I use for crystals is it's like a grid of like quartz and a selenite wand, and I create what it's called a crystal sandwich. And I put my tarot deck on the grid, and then I put the selenite wand on top as a way of charging up my deck. The crystal sandwich works wonders if you've been doing a lot of readings. I also have another stone, but I can't remember the name of it. I got it from Naha Amarty, who owns 22 Teachings, and it is a stone for tarot readers, and it's something like pyrrhosite, or it's got a funny name to it, and I keep that on my table because it's the stone for tarot readers. I'll have to find her book and figure out what that stone is. I've got her book here somewhere. I've got too many books.
Yeah, we sprung this on you. You weren't prepared with it.
Oh my God, I wish I would have known, because because that stone, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my hand. So the amethyst stone is my number one stone. The crystal grid with the selenite is for charging my tarot deck. And this pyrrhosite, or whatever it's called, it is my tarot reader stone that I've been keeping right by my desk when Petersite, that's it. I think that's it.
Good. Look
Thank
at
you,
that.
Annalisa.
Oh, that's perfect.
Okay, so those are some of the crystals that I use. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I'm really big on doing a lot of cleansing and a lot of protective oils before I sit down and do my work. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to burn either Palo Santo or sage or cedar. I burn that in my office just to make sure the office is cleansed. I cleanse my deck every single day, not just with the crystal sandwich, but also with incense. And then I walk around my office and I ring a bell to just disperse energy. And when I sit down before I begin to work, the next thing I use is Angela Mary Magic sprays. So Angela Mary Magic, she lives in Los Angeles. She's this very cool witch. She's my favorite witch, next to you. And and she makes these wonderful sprays. There's this thing called Resist Mist, and it's really good for, again, removing energy. And it's good for also putting on, she's got two different sprays for creating energy for good vibes. So there's Resist Mist, and the other one is Moon Magic. I use that. And then I sit down and I put my oils on. And I've got a ton of oils. Most of the oils that I use for magical and reading purposes come from Sphere and Sundry, which is a company that is run by Caitlin Kopic, and Austin Kopic is her partner. And all of the oils are made under specific astrological influences. And I'm an astrologer too, so everything I do is based on astrology. But I have different ones for protection, different oils for, to help to open up the channels. I have oils for sitting down and getting things done. So I will anoint myself with all these different oils after doing all these sprays. I mean, it sounds complicated, but it only takes minutes. And then I'm ready to read. And then I'm ready to go to town. So all of these oils and crystals and sprays, every single one of them, I use them with my tarot work. The other thing that I do is I have a kyanite wand. And after I'm done with my work for the day, I use it to cut the energetic cords from my clients, and I throw them out to Lake Michigan. So that way I'm not taking anybody's work home with me. I do an energy dump at the end of the day, and then I use a crystal, a quartz, to surround myself with white light to seal it and keep everybody else's problems out of my energy center. So those are all the different things I do. And it sounds like it's a lot, but one of the things, if you're going to be doing tarot reading, especially if you're doing it for a living, you have got to protect your energy, because this work is very draining. And I mean, I've been reading professionally for 30 years. You're absorbing people's vibes. If you find that you're reading a lot and you're not taking care of your energy and you're getting sick all the time, there's a reason why. If you find that you're reading all the time and reading for a lot of people and you're putting on a lot of weight, it's because you're absorbing energy and you're not discharging it. So you have to make sure you cleanse. I cannot state that enough. So does that answer your question, or did I go overboard here?
No, I think that's amazing. I think that sharing that is such a generous thing to do, is to share your ritual and your secret, because people don't see this. I mean, one of the reasons I love going to other readers and getting readings with other readers, of course, what part of it is getting an objective perspective on a situation where you may not be objective. You may be too emotionally attached or too triggered by a situation. And so to get a clean, clear, neutral and objective perspective, going to another reader is the thing to do, of course. But there's a secret other thing that I love to do, which is to see how other readers do their readings. And everybody has their own way of shuffling, their own way of preparing, their own way of doing it. And so seeing other readers do their thing is also, it's helpful for me to get a reading, but I also love to see how other people do their thing. And then I go like, oh, I like that. I'm going to try that out and see if I think it's such a great education. So if you are a tarot aficionado and you want to learn how to do, learn how to do readings, or you're learning, or you're wanting to expand, I think one of the best things you could do is go to another reader and see what they're doing and see how they're doing it. You may see things that you like and you want to try out,
Yeah, absolutely. I love getting readings from different readers. I tend to stick with astrologers though, instead of tarot readers. Because here's why. When I get a reading from a tarot reader, they're always really intimidated to read for me because I'm the tarot lady. And so they're so uptight that I'm like, son of a gun, I just want you to relax. I'm the most boring person. Whereas with astrologers, it's just the math lady. And so they can sit down and there's no, at least my experience, there's no emotion involved. So I tend to get a more objective reading.
That's funny. I would have a good time reading for you. I think we would laugh and have an amazing time if I did a reading for you.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be intimidated.
And also, I'm so it's really funny. It's like, I think some people get really intimidated and they always want to read about my love life. And I'm like, my love life, I don't care about my flippin' love life. My love life's fine. I always tell readers, here's a tip that I love to give people. When you get a reading from someone, so you don't waste your time and waste the reader's time, tell them exactly the areas you want to focus on.
Yeah.
That is such good advice. And I always do that straight up. I go in and say, listen, I want to talk about business. I want to talk about money. I want to know that my kids are okay. I do not want to hear about my love life. I do not want to hear about my health. Boom. And don't do mediumship around me. I'm very, very blunt. And the last time I did a reading, I did it with Sam Reynolds, who's an amazing astrologer. And he laughed. He said, wow, you're really down to business. I said, yes, because I want to make sure that we are steering the reading in a way that's going to be helpful, and I'm giving the information I need and want, not the stuff that I don't care about.
That is such good advice, because I think people sometimes come into a reading. Well, here's the thing, like we talk about like people's different techniques and different styles of doing their thing. I always start by clearing the cards by dividing the deck and face up. And I look at the deck face up and I divide it into 3 stacks. And while I'm doing that process of clearing the cards in the beginning, I say to my client, okay, so fill me in on what's going on and what you'd like to look at today. So I kind of prompt them to do that, because if, sometimes people say, I want a general reading. I want to see what's up in the year ahead. I'm like, okay, but if someone comes in and is like, no, I want you to tell me, first of all, I want you to tell me. And I'm like, great. We may be talking for half an hour about something you don't even care about, because your guides want you to know that, or they want to talk with you about that. But if you don't want to know that, it's like going to the doctor and saying, okay, figure out what's wrong with me.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's so funny, because I think people assume that if they tell you something beforehand that you're cheating, that suddenly, it's influencing the reading. And it's like, no, we're able to zero in now. I mean, I've got clients who've been with me for 30 years. I know everything about them.
Yeah.
So when they sit down, the beautiful thing is I already know what's going on. They know how I operate. I don't have to explain myself. We can just get right down into the heart of what's important. And I love my long-term clients because of that. There's no nonsense.
Yeah. You've trained them well, probably.
We just know
but there's
each other.
Also that thing of like,
yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's also the idea of like, I have special layouts for special circumstances.
Yes.
It's one layout that I love. This layout, I got it from many years ago. I got it from this book called Power Tarot, which is a book about 100, I think it's 100 different layouts or something like that, 150 different layouts. But there was this layout called the Ex-Lover layout that looks at, it's such a great layout, but it is for a situation where you have a challenged relationship. So people are like, if they don't say anything, I won't know to use that one. But if you say, oh, I want to look at my relationship. We're having problems right now. I can use that layout. We can pinpoint the big picture of what's going on. And also, how do they feel about you? What are they thinking about you? Where's the block in your relation? What's the solution? And so on. So that's why when you go to get a reading as a client, go in and say what it is that you'd like to spend your time on. It's kind of like going to therapy or going to a doctor. You've got a limited amount of time. You're paying for that time. So make the time, use it efficiently, get to the point of, so that you get that maximum amount of time focused and getting the answers, getting the map. You don't want to look at the whole map of Los Angeles. You want to look at the ways or the Google Maps from where you are to where you want to go. And that's what you need to know. And that's what you do in a reading.
That's going to be the best reading possible. There is nothing better than when you are specific about what the hell you want to focus on.
Exactly.
You know, I actually have people fill out an intake form, and that way then they can be clear also on why are we getting the reading. Taking a few minutes to fill out the intake form allows you to really think about, why am I getting this reading? What do I really want to focus on? And also for me, it gives me a real clue right away as to what kind of person I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, so are they going to be playing games with me, or are they coming because they really want my help?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, and we as readers are going to see things and give you insight. It's a collaborative experience. I mean, if you ever have had a reading, have you ever had a reading with Mary K. Greer?
No.
Oh my God, I have.
I love her.
She practically makes you do the reading yourself.
I love that. I know how Mary works, and I love Mary. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Me too. Mary is amazing, and Mary is an amazing scholar and an amazing, insightful reader. She'll sit down with you and she'll be like, what does this mean? You know, like she'll go like, and I'm like going, okay, you're doing the reading for me, but I'm doing all the work. But I tease her about that.
But that's really good, actually, for sometimes. It forces you to get introspective and to do your work, because we are all here to do our work. And a reader can help you, but you still have to do your part. And I love Mary's technique, because that's really what it makes you do.
She's like, she goes very, very deep. She goes very deep.
Yep.
All right, we got another question about tarot. I'm loving it. You guys are coming up with these great, I mean, we have Theresa here, captive audience. She's our prisoner for the next half an hour, but we can ask her all these questions about tarot. So I'm so glad you guys are taking advantage of this. Wicked 3 says, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. Could you please share your thoughts on tarot journals? Tarot journals. So Theresa, what do you think of tarot journals?
Tarot journal, intuition journal, astrology journals. I'm a journal fanatic. I think journal is the smartest way to really develop as a tarot reader. Now I have journals for everything. I mean, I've got one right in front of me right now. I mean, this one is a journal that I've been using to keep track of all the things I'm working on. My latest, I don't want to flash this to you, latest book, but I don't want to show you what I'm doing. So I have all kinds of things that I work on here, but a tarot journal, I have a tarot journal. I've kept a tarot journal forever and a day. It helps me to process my readings. And if you're a beginning reader, you can like keep notes on, the cards, different interpretations you find in different books, readings that you do for yourself or other people. I just think it is the smartest way to learn. And I recommend, if you have a tarot journal, you can get any kind of journal you like. Every day, pull a card, write down your interpretation at the beginning of the day. End of the day, come back and visit it. What did you learn? Then have a few good tarot books that you love. You should, of course, have 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack and Madame Pamita's book. And then look up their interpretations. And one of the things I love about your book, Madame Pamita, by the way, is all the different symbols that you cover in the cards. And I think that that's very helpful. Take notes on what other readers say. If you get a reading from a reader, keep copious notes. Your tarot journal is something you can go back to again and again and again, and you can add to it, you can learn from it, you can reflect on it. It is the greatest thing ever.
I agree. I think it's one of the best ways to learn.
Yes.
Many times, I think there's something that happens that you process when you're doing a writing exercise. When you're writing notes, as opposed to just listening, it somehow helps you to process. But one of the best things that people kind of forget about, I think, when they're talking about tarot journals or any kind of journal. I mean, like I teach a lot of my clients to do gratitude journal work, which is manifestation work, and all kinds of other things, working with writing in journals, petition papers, all kinds of things. But the reason I love a journal, and a tarot journal can totally do this, is that you go back to it.
Yes.
See how you have grown, what your interpretation has been. As you look back at that, you go, wow, I've really deepened my relationship with that card. I started there, but now, so I love the idea of a journal showing us how far we've come, because I think especially when people are learning something as complex as tarot, which can be really intimidating. I remember when I was first learning, I was a teenager, I was like, oh my God, I have to memorize all these cards, which is what I thought. I have to memorize all these. Oh my God. You know, I remember being like, oh, it seems like such a daunting thing. You develop your relationship, but you deepen that relationship over the years. And you forget that at one time you were that little newbie who really was fumbling around, and to see that growth that you've had in relation to your readings, in relation to those cards, in relation to whatever magic you're doing, that book of shadows, that journal, or whatever you're doing. I love that aspect, because it reminds you that at one time you wanted to learn how to read tarot and now you're doing it, you know, or one time you wanted to manifest that thing and now you have it. And I think that is such it gives you a sense of accomplishment, pride. You feel more accomplished in your whatever it is that you're studying, magic or tarot or whatever, and you get to see your growth. And I think that's as kind of a side thing that people forget about, reflecting and looking back at their old entries and seeing how far they've come, you know, which is such a great thing.
The other thing that I keep too is I have a dream journal that I write down when I get visits from the dead. So I'm not one of those people that has a lot of dreams, but when I dream, it's either prophetic, stupid, or it's someone from the dead coming to visit me. So it's one of those three things. Either I'm getting a big prophetic message, I'm getting the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life where I wake up laughing, or I get messages from the dead. And I get a lot of really crazy, interesting messages from people who've passed on. And I keep those written down because I love going back and reading them and remembering the dream and remembering that connection. So that's another thing I recommend, a dream journal, also an intuition journal. Write down your intuitive hits, write down those omens. I mean, I'm a believer that everything's a sign, because I grew up in that kind of a household. I grew up with old farm folks. Everything's a sign.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so I pay attention to everything. And it's really interesting to go back later and say, oh my God, I saw the sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And it strengthens your intuition. When you start paying attention to your intuition, you see how your intuition, and that you start to recognize what that feeling of intuition feels like, whether it's saying a yes to you, whether it's you interpret it as your guides telling you yes, your spirit's telling you yes, your higher self, your intuition telling you yes or telling you no. You will then start to identify that other voice within you, so that you know what, then when you hear it again, you'll be able to identify it as not just fear or not just overeagerness or whatever, but as that other voice. And I think paying attention to that is so, so good. Rita has a question that she's asking you. You can ask Theresa this question. I don't know, unless you know Rita and you know what this is about. She's asking a personal question. Is that a thing that you know about? Will Shannon and I be getting back together to live together? Is that something that's like an inside joke or something? I don't know. We don't answer questions about personal things on our Q&A. This is a Q&A for learning about magic, learning about tarot. So if you have a personal question, that's a great question where you can book a session with Theresa and ask about it, right? Perfect, right? So Natalie says, what a great concept for a book, talking about your book, going back. These are people commenting when we were talking about Theresa's book, Tarot for Troubled Times. She's saying, what a great concept. Amanda says, I'm so grateful and heartened to hear both of you articulating this activist agency, addressing the despair since the last election. Thank you. And I worry sometimes about the potential selfishness, passivity of those of us first coming to this work. You are awesome. And Milwaukee is one of the most spiritually potent places I've been.
Yay! I love Milwaukee.
Lastly, now this is a magical question. Lastly, my beloved dog nearly ruined the gingerbread house we just made today. A small bit of magic to address her, please.
Well, first of all,
protection magic for gingerbread houses. I don't know.
I don't know, but I will tell you this. I am the world's worst pet keep, or I let my cats do whatever the hell they want. My cats destroy everything. They destroy furniture, they destroy plants. So I'm probably not going to be much good at telling, because I would probably say, good dog, yay.
Or laugh.
Yes.
I think it's hilarious.
I mean, I encourage animals to be as awful as possible. My husband said, you ruined these cats. You're the reason why they do what they do. And I'm like, yeah, I think they should be naughty. They're supposed to be obnoxious. So if you want to address her, though, what I always find with animals, what works better than anything, though, really, truly, all joking aside, is Reiki. You know, maybe your dog is getting some type of way because they're excited about this action around the gingerbread house. Or maybe the cat is chewing that plant because, you know, well, my cat's just an asshole, but you know, maybe it's chewing it because they're nervous. So sometimes doing like hands-on healing and calming, that is the most magical thing you can do for a pet. Just calm their energy down. Put your hands on them. Breathe deeply. Now, one of the things that I love to do is like a little bit of color magic. If I'm dealing with a situation where I'm with an animal or a person and they're all like amped up, what I do is I visualize as if I'm breathing in like a radiant white light, and I'm breathing out cobalt blue and sending it towards the animal or the person. And I'm telling you right now, that diffuses the energy. So if that's what you're asking around the magic to address the dog, look for things to calm your dog down. You know, again, hands-on healing or even that color breathing can oftentimes diffuse that energy.
I think, you know, our pets are so interesting too, because addressing like why is the dog interested in the gingerbread house? I think there's the thing about food. Obviously there's a food element, but think about energetically what's going on. You were really excited about this gingerbread house. You were really creative and you were doing this work and you were super into it. And you put a lot of focused energy into that gingerbread house. I would almost say like extrapolate this kind of, you know, if there's something exciting in the room, you want to maybe even consume a part of that energy of joy and happiness and excitement and laughter and fun and all of the things that go into that gingerbread house. So it's maybe, you know, apart from the natural inclination of dogs wanting to eat everything, maybe it's also this idea that I want to participate. I want to be I want to be a part of this fun. And that is that fun and laughter and joy that went into that house is very enticing. This is not a negative thing. You know, we see our animals avoid energetically negative things and attract to energetically positive things. So I don't know, put more hate into your gingerbread.
Well, I wish I could get these cats to be I mean, we don't even put up a Christmas tree because all hell would break loose here. These cats are so, when my husband and I first got together, he had a cat that was really classy and had its act together. This cat wouldn't jump up on anything. It was like, wouldn't claw furniture. It was really smart. It could open doors. And every cat that we got after I moved in, was a jerk. So I think it's me. I mean, maybe you've got to look at the energy that you're putting out there that's getting that dog all riled up too.
Yeah, I just think there's something too joyful. I mean, we even get the sense of the joy of seeing a gingerbread house. I mean, when you look at a gingerbread house, I mean, it's like the cutest, most fun. You can just see the happiness. Plus, you and your family put your energy into that, and your dog loves you. And so your energy is concentrated in this gingerbread house that you have made so joyfully and happily, and there's so much laughter and fun around it. So of course the dog's going to want some of that. So I think put it up high, you know, on top of the fridge. I don't know. My cat's so funny. I have all on my tree. I have all either ornaments that I don't care if they break because they aren't sentimental, or plastic ornaments that who cares if they got down. Right. And you know what I find around the house? I'm finding like, I wish I could get it off of here. There's a little bird ornament across the house. I'm like, hello. It's not like I don't know who did this.
That's so funny.
I know, but I let the cat just do whatever on it because it's like whatever. None of those matter. My precious ornaments from my childhood are all in a box. They're not coming out while I have a cat. They're just going to stay up there because I'm not going to be upset. You know, I had 2 boys. My kids are now 21 and 19. But when they were little boys, it was like having wild wolverines in your house. There would be things 8 feet up on the wall, and they'd find a way to knock it down and break it. I'm like, okay, after the first 10 things that they destroy, you're just like, it's just stuff. So it's just stuff on there, you know.
It's just stuff. You know, it's funny. My kids, I was a pretty strict parent. I like to say it's that Saturn in the 5th house creates that mommy dearest vibe. So my kids were like, oh my God, we better not break anything in mom's house. But with my nephews and my niece, I encourage them to be terrible. You know, so I'm like the bad aunt. I'm the terrible influence. But my kids, they would have never gotten away with what I encouraged my nephews and my niece or my cats to get away with.
I know we spoil our pets, don't we? I mean, I spoil my cat so much. Oh my God, she's the most spoiled.
I love them so much.
They're so great. So we've got a couple more questions. Honoreo says hi. Felicia says, I love your tree. Thanks, Felicia. Honoreo says that he's used, I know Chris, Honoreo's Chris. I've used Clove for protection in a candle. Annalisa said Peter's site was that thing. We saw that already.
Yep.
Okay, here's a great tarot question. Stephanie says, a man I have had a long relationship with is giving me his tarot deck he used in college in the 60s. I love him. And he has a so-so energy, sort of narcissistic. Do I need to cleanse him? I'm afraid it will break some connection I have with him. Well, let's get into this whole topic of getting a used deck.
I don't like used things. First of all, I don't like used things, but that's because I grew up poor and I got all kinds of used crap. So I'm like really a jerk about that. I don't like anything used. I like my stuff to be brand new. I mean, that sounds weird, but that's me. That way it's, and it's because that way that it is all my energy. So when I get a deck, I want a new deck. I don't want an old deck. I want a new deck. I will never use any of the vintage decks I have because I'm not interested in. I want something that's completely imbued with my energy. So that's number one. But number two, if I was going to use one of those old decks, I would cleanse the hell out of it. I want it to be an extension of me. I don't want someone else's stuff on it. Yeah. But that's me. And I don't think that's going to break your connection with him. But you want to get his energy off that deck so that way you're reading just purely from you. That's just my opinion on that.
And you have all those things that we talked about in the beginning about cleansing the deck and using all of those things. Here's what I'd say. There's another topic that comes along with this, which is this, I believe, now my opinion, because Theresa, I don't know your opinion about this topic, but I can probably guess that you may be in agreement with me on this. There's a myth that goes around that has been around since I was a new tarot reader that you must be gifted the deck. You may not purchase the deck. You must be gifted the deck. It must come to you from somebody and they give you this deck. They bestow this deck on you. And I say, well, it's very nice if somebody gives you a deck, but here's the thing. Do you let somebody choose your friends?
Nope.
No, you choose your own friends. And I think that this, by the same token, who's going to be better suited to pick out a deck that you build a connection with than you? Because you know your taste. You know what you like. If you want the cat tarot, you get the cat tarot. If you like the Rider-Waite, you get the Rider-Waite Smith. If you like the, if you like the Thoth deck, you get the Thoth deck. Because you have a certain aesthetic and a certain attraction. Like I love the Rider-Waite Smith. I love that deck. But I have had students, and I teach students Rider-Waite Smith, who go, oh, I'm not really connecting with this deck. I say, well, just sit with it, learn with me with it, so we're all on the same page, but then go off on your tangent when you're done or while you're taking the class and get the deck that appeals to you. If you learn the Rider-Waite Smith, you're great because many, many decks are based on Rider-Waite Smith.
Yep.
But in terms of your deck that you use, you may want to use the Mother Piece deck. You may want to use the Daughters of the Moon deck. You may want to use, there's a bazillion decks out there. So find the one that is attractive to you. And my thought is, when you're saying that this guy wants to give you his tarot deck that he used in college, is it a tarot deck that you would have picked? Because if it's just his hand-me-down because it's free, spend the $25 and get yourself a deck that you resonate with. So my two cents. What do you say?
I'm a firm believer because, first of all, if I would have been waiting around for someone to buy me a deck, I would have been waiting forever. I grew up in a rural area with farm folks. I'm not kidding. There's no way in hell. I got into tarot and astrology completely by accident. And if I would have waited around, my destiny might be very different. And I agree with you also. It has to be aesthetically pleasing to you. if you're, it's like picking a lover. Now, if my parents would have picked a lover for me, I would have been stuck with some farm dude out in the middle of nowhere. And I already knew when I was 13 that the type of people I wanted to sleep with looked like Sid Vicious or Tommy Lee, not like some farm guy.
A blonde Tommy Lee.
Yeah, a blonde. Well, a tall, lanky, rock star. If they're a little bit messed up, even better. So I knew what I wanted to look at. And it's the same with tarot. You have to be able to have a deck that's appealing to you, that resonates with you, that makes you happy to look at, that you're not sick of looking at. It's like being with your ideal lover. So you want to be able to pick out what works for you. And I really am a firm believer also in getting new decks, because I'm also a cook. I like a sharp knife. I don't want to use deck that's all frayed at the edges. I want my tool to be sharp.
That's another thing too. Let's talk about that for a second, because I have a class that I teach about making tarot spell packets. And this one is such a no-brainer for me. It's like making you add a petition paper, and you can add, you can alter the deck and change it, write on things, change the pictures around, do whatever you want. And you make the spell packet for your intention. And I always introduce this to the class. I'm like, okay, so you tarot readers out there, you guys have those decks that are missing a card, there's bent cards in it. And I go through decks like if I'm using a deck, it lasts about a year. If I'm using a single deck, it lasts about a year. And I have people that are like, oh, I keep all my decks. I'm like, but you keep a deck with a bent card or a missing card. What are you gonna, yeah, you can keep it. I mean, we all keep it, right? We don't throw them away. I mean, that's the truth. But here's something that you can do with it. And it always mystifies me when a deck, I mean, I've spilled coffee on decks. I've done everything, you name it. I have done it to a deck. And it's a tool. So it's like, yes, it has your energy in it, but after a year, if you got bent corners, you're going to have cards that keep popping up, or, it becomes then not a useful tool. Like you said, it's like a dull knife, or a knife that has a chip out of it or something like that. Can you still use it? Sure, you can still use it. Would you want to use it? I don't know. It's not going to be as useful as a nice, fresh, clean deck that you put your energy into. It's a blank slate that you're putting your energy into. So it's not a bad thing to work with a new deck, an old deck that you had for a million years and you've done a million readings on. I don't think is necessarily better than a deck that you just get new or you've had for a little while. The most important thing is that you get a deck that the cards are going to show up because they are organizing themselves, not because you have this bent Knight of Swords card that keeps popping up. I remember I had one deck with the Knight of Swords. Somebody bent the card and it kept popping. I'm like, oh, and I would see it from the back and I would know, oh boy, here comes the Knight of Swords.
Yes.
So, so I think when you look at it, it's a tool. You want to have a fresh, nice, good tool. I think that knife analogy is really great. And so there we go. Anyway, just my soapbox about that. Jasmine has a question. What would you suggest to use to help protect your home during the holidays? Do you do any protection work around your house? I think you talked a little bit about personal protection in a reading, but do you ever do any protection work to protect your home?
Lots of protection work to protect my home because I live in a funky neighborhood. So, we had somebody break into our house in broad daylight while we were sitting upstairs. So we live in a very interesting neighborhood. I love my neighborhood though. I've been here forever and a day. So I have, first of all, outside my door, I have a protection amulet made of crystals. I have black tourmaline, pyrite, and labradorite. I think that's how you pronounce that. So I have that arranged in some sort of a little grid outside the house. I also will regularly cleanse the inside of the house with incense. And the other thing is I put a ring of salt around the house. And I regularly also put salt on my threshold because that helps to keep out negative energy. Many, many years ago, we had a tenant living downstairs because we have a weird house. It's a triplex. And I hated this tenant. I hated him with a passion. So one day I put some black salt on a threshold and he moved out in a month later.
Wow.
So black salt is good for getting rid of people you don't want to live in your building. And then I use the regular salt to keep bad energy out. So that's what I do. But I do that all the time, not just the holidays.
Yeah. There's actually a great, very seasonal kind of working that you can do, which is to work with holly, which you can find, if
Yeah.
you live in a place that there's holly growing, you can find holly this time of year. And if you don't live in a place where you're a city girl like me, they have it at the grocery store for decoration.
Yep.
But holly hung above those entry ports, the doors, the windows, can keep out it is protective. It only, this is really interesting, it only allows positive spirits to come into your house. So let's say you have ancestors, or you're working with, you're a spiritualist like me, and you work with these high vibe spirits. You want them to be able to come in, but you also want to kind of close the portal and keep out mischievous spirits, negative spirits, or anything like that. So holly is a great kind of spiritual protection. It's not as like the salt is much more like a barrier for real world people. But if you're thinking about like, I don't want any bad vibes or weird spirits or anything like that in my house, holly is a great one for doing that work. And I just thought of it because I'm like, oh, it's that time of year. You can find holly. So it's a great thing to do. And you can leave it up all year long. Just, I nail a holly leaf above my door, nail above the window. And just, it allows, it's a permeable barrier that allows good spirits to come in. And I, as a spiritualist, want to invite those good spirits. And it is a beautiful tool for that. So I love that one too.
I also use Florida water. Sprinkling it on the stairs is also good for just keeping away the negative energy.
That's great. That's a great one. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? All right. What would you suggest? This is from Rose. What would you suggest, hi Rose, for getting guidance from tarot for oneself? Reading for yourself. Let's talk about reading for yourself.
Well, first of all, Courtney Weber wrote an excellent book called Tarot for One. I highly recommend it. It's going to give you a lot of really good, solid advice and exercises to learn how to read for yourself. I love reading for myself. And because I always say, who knows me better than me? And oftentimes, I know exactly how I work and what I want and what I'm looking for. That being said, there's always a but. If you cannot be objective, if you are bent out of shape about it, if you are emotionally invested in the outcome you want, then you're better off having someone else read your cards for you, because you're only going to see what you want. So if you can get out of your own way, well, then you can do a perfectly good reading for yourself. One of the things that I tell people to do as an exercise is, if you're doing a reading for yourself, pretend you're reading for a client. How would you give them that information? What would you see if you were reading for a complete stranger? So let's say I want to do a reading right now and I want to ask a question that's really emotionally charged. Maybe I'm going to pretend that I'm reading for Madame Pamita. What advice would I give her? That can help get out of your own way. But if you can't get out of your own way, and I often find that this mostly happens when people are asking about love, especially about exes, they cannot get out of their own way, and you're better off than just having a professional do the job.
That Three of Hearts, Tower card, Ten of Swords, not Three of Hearts, Three of Swords, Tower card, Ten of Swords means we're going to get back together again, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be great.
So, anyway, I know it's like, I tend to be not very objective with myself when I do a reading, and I'm going to try your technique. I think it's a good technique, because I tend to go like, I know too much about the cards. And then I can do a couple cards for myself, but if I did like a full on spread, like a Celtic cross or something like that, I would be like, yes, that's what it means. That's exactly what it means. I would twist it the way I wanted it to mean. And then I know that I'm lying to myself, and then I'd be all confused. So I'm going to try that technique. That's a great one. I love that.
That technique helps you to get out of your own head. And here's one of the trickiest things for people. And this goes whether you're reading for yourself or for others. You have to learn how to detach your feelings from the reading. And that requires a lot of practice. That doesn't mean you don't have empathy or you don't have feelings. Of course you do. But in order for you to remain objective, you cannot be invested in that outcome at all. You have got to be completely, I like to say, like Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
So adopt that mindset. Just the facts, ma'am. Think Dragnet. Pretend you're reading for somebody else. These are ways to help you to get out of your own way.
I think this is why you are the tarot lady, and you're such an amazing teacher, because you have all these amazing techniques. And I think Courtney's book is amazing, and I'm excited for you guys to check that out. Yeah,
I love that book. I highly recommend it. It's an incredible book. I mean, Courtney is a top-notch teacher, and that book is going to give you a lot of good advice about reading for yourself.
Wonderful. Let's get to one more question. Jazz wants to know, I always burn a tea light when reading tarot cards, but would you recommend blowing it out or letting it burn out? I let it burn out. Is that bad? And also, I'm having a problem understanding my messages from the cards, especially yes or no questions. I'm not sure about the message. How do you master the cards so you understand them clearly? Is there a class I can take? Do you have a class? That's a good question. Do you have a class?
Well, I'm teaching in Italy a full-on week of tarot immersion. So if you want the full-on hands-on experience, you're going to have to get to Italy. I think there's only 2 seats left, and it's going to be like I am bringing everything. I mean, that is going to be your chance to pick my brain left and right. If you want to know how to like begin and end and walk out a confident reader, that's going to be the place to go. So my advice on this about candles, though, I burn candles. That's also, I always have candles burning when I'm reading. It sets the mood. I blow them out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a matter of preference. I don't think whether you let it burn out, whether you blow it out, whether you snuff it out, whether you use your fingers or a snuffer, none of that matters. It's going to be all about what you feel is right. And as far as if you have trouble understanding your messages from the cards, like especially yes or no questions, well, first of all, don't do yes or no questions then. You know, just don't. Yes or no questions are actually really hard. You're asking for a black and white answer. Sometimes that's not there. And if you are having trouble reading it, maybe the answer is not a black and white answer. Maybe you need to look at it differently. Maybe you need to do more pondering about the question that you're asking. And I think really the best advice on how to master the cards is you have to practice. And you have to practice with not just reading for yourself, but reading every day and reading for anybody who's going to allow you to read for them. The more people you read for, the more different type of questions, the more variety, the more different situations, the better you're going to get. You want to know how I got really good and really fast? I was reading at a bar and I was bartending. And so I was reading fast and furious. I got really flipping fast and really good at sizing things up quickly. That will really help. You want to get up to speed? Put yourself in a situation where you're going to be reading a lot of people and you don't have a whole lot of time to think.
Yeah. I think one of the things I did was do readings for parties for people.
Yes. Same thing.
The same thing. It's like, if you aren't a bartender and you don't have access to that, you can offer your friends like, hey, your friend is having a party. Hey, can I bring over my tarot deck and I'll do readings for people? I think taking the pressure off of, making it a fun thing like you were at the bar or in a party also kind of lightens it up. Like nobody's paying for that reading at the party. So if you're like way, way, way off, which you might not be as off as they say, but you can sort of go like, oh, you know, like here's what I'm seeing. And there's an exchange there that they're receiving a gift. They're not going to go, well, you're terrible. I want my money back, because there was no money exchange. But that aspect of doing those 3-minute readings, those 5-minute readings, just 1 card or 3 cards, just small readings, and a lot of different people and a lot of different energy will get you up to speed very quickly. It's a really, really great way.
And one other tip I want to add too, if you have a social media account, like let's say you've got Instagram or you've got Facebook or Twitter, post a card for the day, every single day. That could be your practice, because you know what? You're putting it out there. You might have people commenting and say, wow, this really helped, or maybe I see it a different way. That's also, believe it or not, a wonderful way to learn. Put your card for the day out on social media. Make it part of your practice.
It's like your journal being up on social media, your tarot journal being up and being interactive with other people. If you are somebody who wants to connect with a tarot community, that can be a great way to do it. We have, and also about candles. If you're not doing a spell candle, I have a tradition of like, we don't blow out spell candles, but a candle burned during your work is not a spell candle. You're just lighting a candle during your work, so it's fine to blow it out.
That's totally different. When I use a spell candle, that's very different. I have a snuffer for that.
Exactly. Snuff out your spell candles, but a candle burn for just your, bringing in the element of fire into your readings, bringing, kind of making a spiritual environment is not a spell candle, and you can blow that out.
Exactly.
I wouldn't let a candle. Here's my one caveat. Don't let a candle burn unattended. Don't leave a candle burning and leave the house.
Not with these cats.
Oh, heck no. So one last thing before we go, Amanda said about the dog that ate the gingerbread house. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. I'm a similar pet owner. We all spoil they're fur babies. Here's mine. I'm going to show you mine. She's right down here hanging out with us. There she is. Wait, let's see if I can get her in the,
Oh,
See
little
her?
cat loaf.
I got her as a rescue. She was well loved by someone, and she's on a diet now, and she's not happy about being on a diet.
I wouldn't be either. I love a good fat cat. I want my cats to be fatter.
Yeah, but she's got to lose weight. Doctor says she's got to lose weight. So we're going to get her in good shape, fighting weight. She's going to get her fighting weight.
If she was here, I'd be getting her nice and fattened up.
Well, I was fostering a cat earlier this month, and the foster cat that was I had to keep it for a friend. This one, Glinda, was getting into the foster cat's food and gaining weight. And so I'm like, she's very food centric. She's a foodie. But if you want to follow her on Instagram, she has her, I am that person who has their cat own Instagram account because I don't want to bombard you with a bunch of cat pictures, which is what I would be doing. So I made it its own account. So Glinda has a Instagram. It's Glinda the Kitty Witch on Instagram. And you can find her, all one word, Glinda the Kitty Witch. She has her own little, she's adorable. She's personality plus. Not right now. She's napping, but she's got a lot of personality and she's super cute. She is a little cute, little fluffy, chubby girl. She's a round, curvy girl. Anyway, so Amanda says, I'm a similar pet owner, Cobalt Blue. My mom is a lifelong Reiki practitioner. The dog and I have a similar relationship to food. Her participation in this process makes sense. And here she sits on the couch with me, her punishment.
Oh,
aren't we all that way about our pets?
Oh my God, yes, so much. I so relate.
Well, you guys, this has been an amazing time. Theresa, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, this beautiful night, this first day of winter, first day of Hanukkah, just post winter solstice, Yalda, all of these magical year-end holidays that come. Thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you. We will definitely have you back on again. If ever you want to come back on again, we would love to have you again. And,
yes.
And everybody that's there. So again, you can find her at thetarotlady.com is your website, right? Yep. And that they can find out about your 2 spaces left on your Italy thing, right?
retreat. Yep. Or
That's
they can come to the Reader Studio. And I mean, if you want to get good at tarot, I will also recommend get to a tarot conference. Go to the Reader Studio. You're going to be mixing and mingling with tarot lovers from all levels, and you get to study with people like Mary Greer. I mean, come on now.
Amazing.
Rachel Pollack.
Yeah. There's a lot of tarot things. If you want to get good at tarot, there's also, if you're on the West Coast, there's Northwest Tarot Symposium, which is coming up in February, end of February. That's Newts, they call it, but it's Northwest Tarot Symposium. There's also a Mary K. Greer, Rachel Pollack, and myself are going to be doing a thing in New York, upstate New York, in July.
At the Omega.
At the Omega. So I'm going to be
my friend Shaheen is going to be with you.
Shaheen's going to be with us. That's amazing. That's right. So it's going to be that's a really thing. So there's lots of tarot things where you can come into a tarot community. And I think that you're absolutely right that can really be helpful. And if you really want to get into a kind of consciousness raising or even expanding your knowledge of tarot, read tarot books. And this is an amazing book. It's not your mama's tarot book. It is not another book about tarot with just descriptions. It actually has things that you can do, actions that you can take, all kinds of stuff for understanding the sort of spiritual implications of what we're going through, and kind of the antidote to the kind of terrorism that's going on for all of us as we sit here kind of hunched over, worried about our world. It's a beautiful book for, just kind of expanding the consciousness, expanding the spiritual awareness about what's going on, and things that you can do to not just sit there and be worried, but actually take action and get active and do things to change things. So I love this book. So you guys check out this book. My battery's about to die on my computer, so I better get going. Thank you again, Theresa. You are a delight. You're an amazing friend, amazing colleague. I just adore you. And I hope you have a happy holiday, however you celebrate it. And I look forward to seeing you next time you come out to the West. I'll see you at Reader Studio.
I'll see you at the Reader Studio, and I'll be in Los Angeles in the fall. So mark your calendar. I will see you probably twice this year.
Are you going to be teaching a class when you come out in the fall?
Probably. Right now.
Okay.
Well, my new book's coming out in September, so that's the tentative date. So I want to then make sure I'm doing some things to support the book.
Perfect.
That's all I'll say.
Perfect. I love that. My book's coming out. I have a book called The Book of Candle Magic coming out in October. I also have you guys something very, very exciting. You guys are all on the email list. So you, all the people that are in the Spell Squad that are here with us today. I've got a big announcement coming on December 26th. So Boxing Day, day after Christmas, we're going to have a big announcement about a service that I'm going to be offering in the new year. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be, I'm super excited about this. I can't wait to share it with you, but we're going to announce it on the new moon. So you will get this. Perfect. That's a little secret kind of hint that I'm announcing it on the new moon. So be sure to look in your email box when you on the 26th to see what it is, or I'll be posting it on Instagram and all the other usual places. Thank you again, Theresa. You are amazing. Thank you again, Spell Squad members, for being here. You guys are, I adore you. I think we have such a great time when we're here together. I hope we see you next week. Next week, we're going to have a very surprise guest. Why? Because Madame Pamita wasn't on top of it and didn't book anybody for next week and just realized it today. So this week I'm going to scramble and find somebody amazing for you. It'll be a surprise for me too, because I don't know who it's going to be. So we'll see you next week. If it's worst case scenario, it'll be me and Glinda. We'll be here. We'll be here next week for sure. Maybe we'll have an amazing guest for you. I think that the universe is going to align. What do you think, Theresa? We're going to have
will.
something.
We have an eclipse next week. Of course it'll align.
Of course it will align. Thank you again for being here. You're amazing. You can find Theresa at thetarolady.com. Go check her out. Go follow her. Go sign up for her email list and all of that stuff. And you can find out about when she's going to be in your town, because she's going to be touring soon. She may be coming to your town. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a beautiful, beautiful holiday. And we'll see you on the 30th, which I think is the next session. Exciting. All right, guys. Have a good day. Good night. Bye.